This is Peter Godinez, your K80Y TV ambassador with Meet the Candidate. And we have the wonderful Rafael. And his last name is so beautiful, I want him to say it, and I also want him to tell us what you're running for.
Thank you, Peter. Last name Dagnesses, Rafael Dagnesses.
Wow.
With the middle name Alberto.
You got to stand up and say that.
You're good. You're good.
And you're running for?
I am running for Congress, House of Representatives, here in the 26th Congressional District, which covers most of Ventura County, the very western end of Simi Valley, all of Ventura County, including the LA side of Westlake Village, and parts of the Malibu Canyon and Oak Park.
That's wonderful. Now, I've heard some things about you, but I want to start maybe possibly at the beginning. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was actually born in communist Cuba. My father fought in the revolution. Members of my family fought in the revolution in Cuba. And, you know, they fought for change. And, of course, we now know history. They fought for a freer, more democratic system. What they got was communism. So that's not what he fought for. In 1970, we left Cuba. I always say the word, we were able to escape tyranny. We landed here in the U.S., in Miami. When we were in Miami about a week later, my dad didn't want anything to do with the Cuban political issues. He was, you know, as a young man, he was in his 20s, and he was depressed because he left his other family, his parents, behind, and brother and other folks. And he looked at a map of the U.S. and he noticed the word Los Angeles, and he said it in Spanish. I was right next to him, actually. And he said, Los Angeles. They must speak Spanish there. You know, it's a Spanish word. We're out of here. So 2 weeks later, we left Miami and arrived in Los Angeles. We actually arrived across the street from MacArthur Park in the Rampart area of Los Angeles at a motel, and that's where we started. About a week or two later, my dad became a janitor, and I was his assistant. So my first job was actually cleaning ashtrays in banks at night. So I grew up in the Rampart area of Los Angeles. Initially, you know, low-income area, factory workers, manufacturing workers, very diverse. And as time went on, things changed, and it became a very hostile, negative environment where I was basically exposed to gangs, drugs, and what I always say, generational government dependency. Just people on the public dole, not working. There were drive-by shootings in front of my house. There was probably not a week that went by that I was not woken up by the LAPD helicopter shining lights through my bedroom. So I had a very interesting upbringing, you know, exposed to a lot of negative things. At the age of 17, my parents signed on the dotted line, and I left the Marine Corps. While I was in the Marines, I was in the infantry. I was a military police officer. In the 90s, I worked intelligence. I've had several different jobs while I was in the Marines. I was discharged at the rate of E7, which is a gunnery sergeant. While attending Cal State Northridge, I joined the Sheriff's Reserve Academy, so I was actually a student in the daytime, and at night I would drive all the way down to Whittier while I was going through the Sheriff's Reserve Academy. LAPD came on campus, recruited, I applied, and in 1987 I was hired by the Los Angeles Police Department. So during my tenure with LAPD, I worked patrol, mostly in the south side of Los Angeles and the Hollywood Rampart areas. And I had 3 tours of narcotics, 2 of them undercover, 1 of them with an alias. I penetrated drug houses in the San Fernando Valley. I dealt with some pretty bad characters. During that period of time, I received over 50 commendations, and from acts of bravery to letters of appreciation from citizens. So I had a really fantastic career. I've always been an entrepreneur since I was a young kid. In 1995, I left LAPD. I went back to law enforcement for a short period of time, but I started with my business ventures. And I've opened and closed several businesses throughout the years. Since 2003, I have my current company, and that's where I've been since.
Tell us a little bit about your careers, because you've done a lot in life, and obviously there was the career in the military, but what was one of the first, we know that you started off as an ashtray cleaner, but when you actually got out, what were some of the first businesses? Because I know you have a very successful business now, but what would you consider your very first, career job once you got to California here?
Well, I'll start with my first big failure.
Okay.
In the about 1996, 97, actually started an internet company and departed from real estate for a period of time to open up this internet company. Wound up losing all my savings, every single penny. Had it open for about 7-8 months. Technology then was different, and the people that I hired were, I think, fearful to tell me things were not working. But at the end of the day, when things failed and we lost all the money that we lost, I had to shut it down. I had to sell my house, sell my cars, move into a small apartment with my wife and baby. I didn't declare bankruptcy. Instead, what I did, the way we recovered, is working 14-hour days, 7 days a week for 18 months, and we recovered again and started all over again. That story has been duplicated about 2 or 3 times throughout my business career, where I've launched things and things haven't worked out, and I have to start all over again. But I've never, at the end of the day, it was my call, my bust. I took responsibility and did not put it on society.
I'm really interested in hearing a little more about your family now. I did see a picture that was out of date. You look the same, but you're missing a child in it, so I know it was a lot there, but you have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your wife and your kids? Would that be okay?
Yeah. I'm married to Natalie Dagnesses. We've been married 18 years. I have 3 sons. I have an adult son. I have and 2 teenagers. One's 13 and one's 14. And they go to school here locally, here in Thousand Oaks. And one of them is getting ready to go to Crespi High School in Encino. So that's going to be a long drive for us. Yeah.
It's an all-boys high school.
Yes, it is.
That's true. That's very good.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your political entry, meaning I don't think you've been very successful, but something activated in you that you stepped into the arena of politics. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I have a deep respect and love for this country. What other place on earth could you come here from another country with nothing and grow up in the environment that I grew up in, and through hard work and dedication, live the American dream. And my fear is that we're losing that opportunity. My kids have had a really great life that I've been able to provide for them. Things that I could not even have dreamed of when I was a kid. But I look at my kids now and I'm actually worried about their future. What is their future? Where are their opportunities? When you have young people coming out of college with graduate degrees, having to work at, and no disrespect to a worker at Starbucks, but you have a graduate degree and you wind up working at Starbucks, it's a little tough. So I see these things going on, and I had opportunities, the opportunity to either stay where I was at or the opportunity to move on. And that's the one thing that I learned as a young child. My parents taught my sister and I never to be envious of those who have achieved success. We live in this great country, and the opportunities are unlimited. And we took that and ran with it and kept fighting and fighting, pushing forward. So I look at my kids, I go, are they going to have those same opportunities that I had? I don't think so, not at this moment. And we have to fight for those opportunities. I believe that this country right now is in a transformational change. And that transformation, coming from a communist country, as I have, and understanding the process that it takes for a people first, then a country to be transformed. I see a lot of those similarities in a different way, but those similarities are here now. And there are things that are going on in this country that if you would have discussed it 20 years ago, they would have called you a conspiracy theorist. But those those issues are actually happening today. For example, the thought of the IRS auditing Americans based on their political affiliation, that should send a chill to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're on the left, the right, the center. No American in any political party should accept something like that. And that is what a large central government does. And that's where it came from, where they have committees and organizations to spy on the population and report back. The fact that the IRS is the enforcement arm for Obamacare, that should also send chills to all Americans, not just right or left, Republican or Democrat. So those things, and then looking at our district, and the fact that I come from a very different perspective and background than your typical politician that was probably born to the right family in the right neighborhood. They were planning to go into politics from the day they graduated from college, as my opponents have. Both of them have been career politicians. I have never run for office. I'm doing this purely because I love my country. And I can't stand on the sidelines and complain and not do anything about it. I believe that apathy is what got us here. And we cannot allow that to continue on. So if we care about our kids and this country, we all need to be involved. Even if we don't agree with each other, we need to get involved and engage in conversation. And specifically, engage in a conversation that's honest, without political correctness.
That's wonderful. I want to do this next question, have a little fun with it, okay? And it's not putting you on the spot, but
putting me on the spot around.
No way, because I know you can answer it along. Instead of saying, ask the question, what do you want to accomplish if elected? May I ask the question away? History has passed now. Everything that you've been elected, and everything you've put in place, all the stars have been aligned. Now, what are the history books going to look and write about Rafael and some of the key things he did for our culture? Is that too much?
That's a lot.
That's a lot, but you know, hey, you're all about a lot, so let's keep on going.
That's a lot. Well, one of the things that I talk about often is who am I, and who is any of these politicians? I find so many of them to be very arrogant in the way they execute the business of representing. The fact is that no one individual knows everything. As a matter of fact, no one individual knows too much. We have opinions. So one of the things that I want to put together is an advisory council. And that advisory council is made up of 30, 40 individuals. Individuals that have expertise, real world expertise, not academic expertise, in various areas. For example, in business, the small businessman, the medium business, the large business, private equity, M&A, environmental sciences, scientists with opposing opinions, educators, PTA, parents, yes, even young kids, teenagers, college students, professors. Just a really across the board advisory council where we can reach out and seek out their opinions. You just never know where you're going to learn something new from. And too often these folks in politics have no real base, how do I say this? Their knowledge base doesn't come from reality. It either comes from books or some perspective they've created because it's politically correct or it sounds good. They double talk. But when you're talking about, let's say, the economy, or you're talking about immigration, or you're talking about crime, who better to engage than someone that's actually lived it, that came from it, that understands what happens on the ground level. And that advisory council are those kind of people that I want to reach out to. The tow truck driver that decided to open up his own tow truck company, and he started with one, and now it has 100. How did he do that? Without a bachelor's degree, for example, but pure dedication and hard work. That's something we also need to teach our kids. So that's one of the things I absolutely want to accomplish, is that I want to inspire young people. We don't all have the aptitude to get a graduate degree. That's a reality. And I think that we're selling a lot of young people short by pushing certain things that they may not be able to accomplish. Maybe they can't. They shouldn't, not that they shouldn't try. But there's so many things out there that they can accomplish to reach that American dream, wherever that dream is, and not fall short. So that's really my basis of all this, is when I'm done, is what did this guy do? Now, he came into, yes, underprivileged neighborhoods and helped transform it, not by throwing money at it, because we know the government throws money at a lot of things and it doesn't work, but by actually getting involved, engaging, and inspiring, and directing, and educating.
That's excellent. If you were known for maybe one statement that you were named for, Kennedy is not, ask not what you can do for God, whatever it is, what would be your statement you think you would kind of summarize who you are?
Well, I'm big in this. The answer is not in the government.
Right.
The answer is within us.
Right.
So we need to be able to reach down to that little guy inside of you and bring it out and seek out those answers. The government is not the answer. And I'm an avid believer that the bigger the government, the poorer we are. We lose our freedoms. And that's what we need. We need opportunity and freedom.
That's excellent. So do you have any other closing statements? Because I think we can go on for hours, but this has been great. But do you have any final statements?
Well, I can promise you this. If I'm elected, I will work harder and longer than any of the folks that I'm running against. That is just my DNA. This for me is service, not a job. It's taken many, many years for me to reach the point I am in life. And I feel that now I can actually provide service. This is a pay cut for me, a pay cut that I'm willing to take. I don't know if you know this, but a few months ago I actually presented a notarized pledge that I would not serve more than 8 years if given the honor to represent this district. One of the big issues that I see in government are basically career politicians that have been in office way too long. Many of these people came in for the right reasons, but they seem to have forgotten why they went to Washington, and it was to serve their communities and serve their country. I think the money and the power seduces them, and they forget.
Perfect. Tell us, say your beautiful name one more time and what you're running for.
Rafael Dagnesses, and I'm running for the 26th Congressional District here in Ventura County.
Rafael, we appreciate so much your time, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Peter. Pleasure.